If you plan to give a presentation in the near future, then this masterclass is for you. In this masterclass, I'll take you through the entire journey of what you have to say and how you have to say. There's a lot of information coming your way. So please make notes and also follow the activities that I ask you to follow. That's it. Without further ado, let's get going. So the first part is introduction. Now, how do people generally introduce themselves and how they should introduce themselves? Let's have a look. Now, this is what people generally say, that good morning, everyone, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. This is quite generic. A lot of people do this. I would suggest you do not start your presentation with this generic way. Rather, you can always start by thanking people that let me thank you all for coming here today. This is a great way. I have marked it for you that first of all, let me thank you all for coming here today. Now, you have to do one thing. As you watch me in this video, the way I sound, try to copy the way I sound. The way I use my hand gestures, try to copy the hand gestures. The way I use my expressions, try to use the expressions as well. It is not just about knowing what to say, it's also about how you have to say, your voice and your body language. Are we clear? So, one more time. Let me thank you all for coming here today. You appreciate people. You thank them for showing up. The next one. You can also try in this fashion. So my attempt is that I give you a lot of ways how you can introduce yourself. It's not mandatory for you to follow just one style. I think that you give a lot of presentations, maybe on a Monday, then a Tuesday, then a Wednesday, then Thursday, and so on. So you can choose as per the day, or you can choose as per the scenario. Maybe if you have to talk to your boss, or talk to your client, or talk to your colleagues, or talk to someone else. So depending upon the context, you can use any of the available options. Sounds good? Ultimate goal is that you should be prepared with your arms and ammunitions. Good to go? So you might say, well, this talk is designed to act as a springboard for discussion. Are you ready for that? You see how interesting it is to start in this manner than to say, good morning, everyone. So today, as you can see on the presentation, on the screen, on the slide, the topic of my presentation is blah, 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 blah. It's boring. Yes, it's boring. So you say, well, this talk is designed to act as a springboard for discussion. Sounds good? The next one. My talk is particularly relevant to those of you who blah, 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 blah. I'm giving you templates which you can use as per your use case. Sounds good? So my talk is particularly relevant to those of you who, and now you have to play very smart. You know that who are the people in your audience. Understand this. This is a very well-crafted introduction, or the way you start your presentation, that my talk is particularly relevant to those of you. For example, you are giving a presentation, you're a doctor, and you have to give a presentation to maybe all those who are having diabetes, right? And you are someone who studies that subject of medicine. So you might say that my talk is particularly relevant to those of you who are looking forward to find a way to a healthy living in spite of having diabetes. You can always reframe it to give you an idea that you know what kind of audience is there in front of you. You know what your client is looking for. You know what your customer is looking for. You know what your boss is looking for. So change it as per your target audience. Make sense? The next one, it says, well, this morning I'm going to take a look at the recent developments in. Very clear agenda. People love this. When you waste the first few seconds or minutes talking about random things, people just get disconnected. They're like, Come to the point. Talk about the agenda. Don't just go beating around the bush. So you might say, this morning I'm going to take a look at the recent developments in, and then state A, B, C, any vertical that you have, talk about that. You might ask me, Divas, what's this? That's DIY, do it yourself. Now I've given you a few options that you can build on. Take the next few seconds, close your eyes and ask yourself, what would you say if you had to introduce yourself or start your presentation in front of your team members, your clients, your colleagues, your bosses, your managers, whosoever? How would you do that? Take a moment. Take a moment. Take a moment. Take a moment. Can you come up with some ideas based upon what I just shared with you? I bet yes. If not, don't worry. Take your time, watch it again, pause it, think, and then write it down. Believe me, people whom you see on stage, they speak so well. It's because they have given time to their presentation. They have given a thought that what exactly they are supposed to say when they show up in front of people. And it looks so natural, right? It looks so natural because the person has done that thing in his head first. And then you see him. Is the structure. Now, how do you talk about your structure? As in the structure of your presentation. You might say, in my presentation, I'll focus on 3 major issues. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. I hope you remember I asked you to copy the way I am talking. I'm saying things, right? In my presentation, I'll focus on 3 major issues. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. Are we clear? You know it, what those 3 major issues are. If you have 5 issues, 7 issues, 2 issues, 4 issues, completely up to you. Just giving a template for you to follow. The next one is, this presentation is structured as follows, and then you share what this structure is. Maybe you know that the questions are gonna be covered towards the end. You will not be taking questions when you are speaking. So that could be the agenda, that if you have any questions, we'll take it up in the end. And that's how the structure is prepared. You might say, well, the subject can be looked at under the following headings. Heading 1, you state 1, maybe 2, whatever it be. So use this one more time. Repeat after me. The subject can be looked at under the following headings. Sound enthusiastic. Do not sound boring. If you say, well, the subject can be looked at under the following headings. Some people sound like that. I'm not here for a reading comprehension or a reading competition. It's more about how enthusiastic you are about what you are sharing in front of your team members. Are we clear on this? Come on, give me a yes in the chat section. And yes, Divas, I am clear. I'm clear. The comment section, not the chat section, the comment section. Moving on. We can break this area down into the following fields. One more time. We can break this area down into the following fields. Break it 1, 2, 3. The following fields. Talk about that. Now it's your chance to think about what would you say if you had to talk about the structure of your presentation. Remember, I'm going step by step, right from how to introduce yourself, now talking about what is the structure of your presentation. Think about it. What would you say? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I know that this is quite challenging. Then, oh my God, there was 5 seconds to think. Just giving you some time to build on what you have just heard. Good to go. Enjoying it? I'm enjoying it. I'm really. The timing. What is this? The timing. Well, I'll take about 10 minutes to cover these points. Be very clear that how much time I'm going to take to wrap up the next part, the next segment, the next section, right? Even if you have to answer a question, just deviating from this topic. If you have been asked a question and you know that this question will take some more time to answer, then stated that I'll take 2 minutes to answer this question. I'll take a little bit more time to answer this question. And the reason why I say this is, and then you explain that what is it that you want to share, which will take some time. So one more time, it will take about X minutes to cover these points. Clear? What would you say? This is just one way. You can always come up with variations. You can always come up with your way of talking about the time, that how much time will you take to cover this presentation. Or in the next 30 minutes, I'll be sharing with you blah, 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 blah. In the next 5 minutes, I'll talk about blah, 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 blah. Perfect. So the person knows it, how much time should they pay attention to you. Handouts. It can be a case where you have to distribute handouts to people. In that scenario, what you would probably say? Well, does everybody have a handout or a copy of my report? You confirm before you start your presentation. Generally, if you happen to be a manager or a boss or leader and you're addressing your team members and there are some handouts, there are some reference sheets, there are some annual reports on which the discussion has to be based, you might say, does everybody have a handout or a copy of my report? Sounds good? Well, I'll be handing out copies of the slides at the end of my talk. So you need not take screenshots or pop up with your mobile phones in between. That can be a great way. You would have seen that people do that. That when you are presenting, people are like, hey, take a phone, and then they capture and Not required, right? You can say that I'll be handing out copies of the slides at the end of my talk. So sit back, absorb, and make notes. That's your core focus area than just copying from the slide. Not required. Sounds good? I can email the PowerPoint presentation to anyone who would like it. So I want your complete attention for the next 20 minutes. Do you see that? I even combined the timing and the handouts. One more time, I can email the PowerPoint presentation to anyone who would like it. Are we good to go? And then move ahead. Don't worry about taking notes. I've put all the relevant statistics on a handout for you. Many times when you have data on your presentation, people are curious to focus, and it is not easy humanly possible as such to register all the numbers in just a fraction of a second when the slide pops up on the screen. So in that scenario, you can always say that don't worry. Showcase that you understand their concern. A great trait of a presenter. Don't worry about taking notes. I've put all the relevant statistics on a handout for you. And this makes the participants so much at ease. They're like, all right, I need not be bogged down by the numbers. I have the reference sheets. Let me focus on what I can make notes, what I can do in this time, than just copying from the slides. What would you say? That's how we learn in a masterclass, right? Where I'll teach you and then I give you some time to ponder over it, reflect, introspect that exactly. What would I say if I had to present in front of someone? And if I had to give handouts, what would I say? You can always use what I just shared with you. These templates, you can use it and be happy. But if you want to improvise, questions. Yes, questions. Questions. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Come on, sound like this. Don't say, well, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Do not look sad when you say happy. I'm happy to answer them. Well, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or if you don't mind, I like to leave questions until the end of my talk, or there will be time for a Q&A session at the end. Do you see that? I'm just giving you, not even just, I am giving you the exact words, exact sentences, exact templates which you can use when you talk about questions. So one more time, if you don't mind, I like to leave questions until the end of my talk. Is that okay? All right. Do you see that? I look at everyone, left, center, right. That means I'm addressing my participants, your team members, your colleagues, anyone. There will be enough time, or there will be time. See the intonation, see the stress. I'm also teaching you how to speak. Okay, remember, there will be time for a Q&A session at the end. So, what would you say? What would you say, my dear friend? Think about it. You say, questions in the end. I'm giving you the exact sentence, so use that. Now, what is sequencing? Sequencing is where you say, well, my first point concerns blah, blah, blah. My second point concerns blah, blah, blah. And my third point concerns blah, 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 blah. Right? So use these words. Or first of all, I'd like to give you an overview of this project, of this scenario, whatever is the case. Next, I'll be focusing on talk about the next thing, and then we'll consider talking about this. So the person knows what is first, what is second, what is third. Clear? And then I'll go on to highlight what I see as the main points of, gives you a step-by-step flow. And finally, I like to address the problem of blah, blah, blah. Or finally, I like to raise briefly the issue of blah, blah, blah. Now, what would you say? Do you get it? I mean, I had over here 3 or 4 sequences. 1, 2, 3, 4. Firstly, secondly, thirdly, lastly. That could be a way. What would you say? I would say, take your time and comment. Comment. Let us know what would you say. What will happen? Not only you, a lot of people will learn from your contribution and you will learn from their contribution. So everyone, try to put your answers in the comment section as you're being asked for your DIY. That's how you learn. It's called as community learning. YouTube, are you listening to me? YouTube family, are you listening to me? Yes, you're listening to me. So now onwards, whenever I ask you to for DIY, drop in your comments. Maybe for the past ones as well, do it. The information, what would you do? What would you do if you have to highlight the information? You'd say, I like to put the situation into some kind of perspective. This is interesting. Many of us struggle that there was, what do I say in this scenario? Now you know what you say. I like to put the situation into some kind of perspective. Repeat. Or I'd like to discuss in more depth the implications of maybe following this strategy, following this approach, following the suggestion. Could be anything. One more time, and sound a bit more deep. Don't just sound, I'd like to discuss in more depth. No, I'd like to discuss in more depth the implications of blah, blah, blah. That sound that, you know what, implications of a certain approach and you are concerned. So you want to discuss that in depth. So your voice will play an important role over here. Or you might say, I like to make more detailed recommendations regarding. One more time. I'd like to make more detailed recommendations regarding this. Or I'd like you to think about the significance of this figure here. As you can see on the screen, I would like you to think about the significance of this figure here. So do you see, I'm trying to draw everyone's attention on that number, on that figure, on that data point, on that statistic, on that image, whatever. Are we getting it? So use these ready-to-use templates. Or you say, whichever way you look at it, the underlying trend is clear. The next year is going to be for XYZ industry. The next year is going to be for Instagram marketing, for YouTube marketing, for anything. Clear? So whichever way you look at it, the underlying trend is clear. You see the conviction? Whichever way you look at it, the underlying trend is clear. Repeat. As you watch me, use your hands, use your expressions, use your voice. Like speak out. Don't just listen to me. Like speak out, right? And write as well. put in the comment section, what would you say if you had to highlight something when you are giving a presentation? Think about it. How do you conclude? Thank you, everyone. Oh gosh, do not have that thank you wala slide. No. Something better. You might say, I'd like to finish with the words of a famous scientist, politician, author, anyone whom you respect, whom you find value in. One improvement, you can remove the word just. You can just say, I like to finish with the words of a famous scientist, famous author, Mr. XYZ, Miss XYZ, and then talk about it. Generally, people receive that piece of advice when they know where it is coming from. For example, now there's a very famous line which says, be the change you want to see in this world, right? Now, it's something like we know that we have to change ourselves before asking the world to change around us. But the moment you say it was said by Mr. XYZ, it gives it more weightage, more value. And like, all right, I get that, right? So use the person's name and their designation as well. Like some people may not know who that person is, right? So if you just say that he was a famous scientist, famous this. Now let's go out and create opportunities for XYZ. Do you see that? Enthusiasm. I often say that as a leader, you should be full of energy. You should be source of inspiration that your team members are like, oh God, yes, we'll do it. You will say, now let's go out and create opportunities for our team members, for our clients, or our community, right? What would you say? What would you say? Think about it. If you have to go, but what would you say if you had to conclude? Don't just say, thank you, everyone. It was nice talking to you. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye. No. Where you have to ask others to introduce themselves. It happens, right? When you're there in a meeting or maybe in a presentation as well, you ask your participants to introduce themselves. What you can probably say? You might say, well, let's go around the table and introduce ourselves. take someone's name. Mr. Raj, do you want to start, right? If you know the person, then Mr. Raj, if you know that person in the entire room, or let's start with you, sir. Let's start with you, ma'am, right? One more time. Well, let's go around the table and introduce ourselves. So, do you want to start? Or let's introduce ourselves quickly. Please state your name, job title, and why you are here. That can be a way, depending upon the context. You can always, if you are addressing people who are meeting for the first time, this is a great way for everyone to know about each other. So one more time, practice, copy. Let's introduce ourselves. Let's introduce ourselves quickly. Please state your name, job title, and why you are here. What would you say? If you have to ask others to introduce themselves, what would you say? Think about it and drop it in the comment section. Pause it and drop it. That's how you do it. Applied learning, not just theoretical learning, absorbing. You absorb a lot of things, I'm sure, right? You watch a lot of videos on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook and other platforms. The challenge is you're not able to retain it because you don't apply the learnings. Yes or no? Yes. So if you want that this becomes a part of you, this becomes so natural to you that you're able to speak these words, these sentences, then apply it right now. You'll find a bigger change. Next is setting the agenda. How do you set the agenda? I've called this meeting in order to, and state the agenda, or we are here to discuss about, or here to discuss XYZ. There are 3 items on the agenda, first, second, third. Today, I would like to outline our plans for and state what your plans are. And now it's your turn. This was easy, right? That's why I went a bit too fast that, oh, now you are a pro at it. You've been with me for the last almost like 30 minutes. Almost. And I believe that you are getting a lot of value. Action points. How do you define the action points? Let's have a look. You might say, can you have these action points finished by next week's meeting? So do you see over here? When you want that someone has to wrap up a certain thing by the end of the day or end of this week, you can say, so can you have these action points finished by next week's meeting? Or before the next meeting, I want XYZ completed so we can discuss the results. It's very important as a manager, as a professional, that you are clear in your communication. The reason why teams are dysfunctional is because there's a gap in communication. What the leader expects his team to do, the team doesn't understand what they're supposed to do because the instructions are not that clear. However, when you give instruction this and that before the next meeting, I want A, B, C, D, E completed so we can discuss the results. It's very clear. The team members know it, the participants know it, what they are supposed to do. Or by the next meeting, we'll have dash in progress. Maybe any project, any vertical, any assignment, anything that was a part of discussion, the same. By the next meeting, we'll have XYZ in progress. Your chance. What would you say? Go for it. It's easy now. It's no rocket science. Initially it might be, but now you're getting a feel of it that yes, exactly what do I have to say when I talk about the phrases. This one is interesting. How to interrupt politely. How to interrupt politely. Now, many of us hesitate that how can I say that better I should not say. Has it happened with you? Because you think that if you will interrupt, they will not like it. They'll be like, hey, how can you jump in between? But you have a point to make, right? So whenever you sense that, yes, your point is valid, genuine, and will help the team at large to come to a consensus or to have an important perspective which everyone is missing out on, then please share. If it is a lot about your personal query, personal challenge, you can always speak with the presenter towards the end of the presentation. However, if your input makes a valid contribution to the entire team, please do it. Or if you really think that you're unable to understand and whatever will follow, it will just, you'll have overhead transmission, then take a pause, raise your hand and ask, interrupt politely. How? Sorry, but just to clarify, or you made a great point so far, or you made a great point and I want to understand this a little bit in more detail for a better understanding. So you're not questioning, you're not challenging, you're not making the other person feel bad. You're just seeking clarification because you're not able to understand, or you need to get more clarity to move to the next point. Else, you might sit like a good boy or a good girl that I will not ask any question, I will not interrupt, and things might just be, you won't even understand what they said. So you can also avoid the word sorry. This is just a basic level. I would say avoid the word sorry. You can say, thank you for your insights. I wanted to clarify this. Perfectly fine. The moment you say sorry, you bring yourself in a lower state of power. So avoid saying that. For example, some people say, oh, sorry, I'm late. No, thank you for waiting. Better approach. The moment you say sorry in this way, it brings you lower in power, as I said. Again, you can avoid the word sorry. I didn't quite hear that. Can you say it again, please? Do you see that? The tone. Not like, I didn't quite hear that. Can you say it again? No. I didn't quite hear that. Can you say it again? Do you see the warmth in the voice? It's a big differentiator, my dear friends. You might say, Divas, oh, that's how I speak. So what is the problem in this? There's no problem as such. You know for yourself, if someone talks to you in a rude tone, how would you feel? Now, I'm not saying that tone defines the person. Right? Maybe that's how you speak. That's how people speak from the place where you are coming from. I understand that. Every place has a different dialect, different way of saying things. And some tones can be really harsh, some tones can be really soft and nice on ears. Nobody has time to sit with you over a cup of coffee to understand what kind of person are you. So if you have a 2-minute or a 20-minute interaction with someone, try to bring in that warmth. Everyone likes it. Everyone likes it. So it is an attempt worth going for. So I didn't quite hear that. Like, can you say it again? Not like, can you say it again? No. Like, can you say it again? With a smile. With a smile that you are just asking as a student, please. Well, that's an excellent point. And take the person's name. This is really important, my dear friend, taking the person's name. we love listening to our names. Yes or no? Imagine you're on a street, a crowded street, and you just hear your name. For example, if I'm on the street and like someone says, Divas! And I will turn around and look at, hey, who called my name? Maybe there is one more Divas whom they are calling out. But then the tendency is that you would turn. And people love listening to their name, right? So that's an excellent point, Vikrant. What about doing this as well? So when you have to interrupt politely, start with this, where you appreciate, you congratulate, you're like, oh my God, great point. This was really insightful, Vikrant. What about doing this? That's a way. The person feels like, hey, he's talking to me. So using the person's name in a conversation. This is a bit deviating from the topic. If you have one-on-one conversation as well, over there, try to use a person's name while talking. The person will feel good. There'll be a better connection. Nice. Moving on. From our department's perspective, it's a little more complicated. Let me explain. So suppose you received an insight and you feel, hey, this is not as simple as this presenter is talking about. So you say, from our perspective, it's a little more complicated. I want you to break it down for my department, for our team. If you have a boss who's saying, oh, do this or do that or do this or do that, and you're like, well, the insights are like profound. However, from our department's perspective, it's a little more complicated. So could you please break it down for us? Simple. Excuse me for interrupting. Avoid this. There's no need for you to say like sorry and excuse me. Next is, I've never thought about it that way before. How does it affect this? How does it affect our day-to-day operations? How does it affect the customer handling? Could be anything. I'm just giving you one scenario. You can think about your case as well. So I've never thought, you see the eyebrows? I have never thought about it that way before. How does it affect? Do you see the eyebrows again? I have never thought about it. Hands. I have never thought about it that way before. How does it affect the day-to-day operations, right? Your chance. What would you say? Drop in your comments. It's time for comments. Go and do it. Go and do it. Go and do it. It's important, folks. Unless and until you don't apply it, oh my gosh. You say, yeah, it was a nice video that I watched. Yeah, Divas did make some sense and the phrases were nice, the insights were great. However, I am not able to recall because I haven't applied. So my dear friend, apply it right away. When you have to ask questions, how do you do that? So this is easy, right? Like, can you repeat that, please? Use the word please. Try using the word please. You will not lose anything, my dear friend. Some of us are like, hey, how can I use the word please? I will not request him. He should do it for me. No. Can you repeat that, please? Or can you run that by me one more time? Can you run that by me one more time? Sound polite. Remember? Sounding polite. So can you run that by me one more time? Thank you so much. Or can you repeat that in a simplified way? Yeah, I hear you, but can you repeat that in a simplified way? Thank you so much. Use the word please. Use the word thank you. People love that. And it makes you a better person as well. Your chance. What would you say? What would you say? Think. 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next, for clarification. If you want some clarification on what you just heard, you say, I don't fully understand what you mean. Could you explain it from a different angle? Perfectly fine. It shows curiosity. I'll again repeat, a lot of us think that if I'll ask a question, I'll be perceived as someone who is stupid someone who doesn't understand things, or someone who is challenging authority, someone who is trying to make the other person feel bad. No, you are asking question because you are curious, because that answer will give you more clarity. Are you with me on this? That's it. It's a mindset shift. Understand this. A lot of us have that question. We want clarification, but we do not ask. And you know it why. That, oh my God, they will all think, oh, he's trying to ask questions from the boss. He's getting the brownie points. Yes or no? But the reality is that everyone has that question, or not everyone, but majority of them would have some sort of question on top of their mind, and they would hesitate. Remember, you get visibility. Everyone is going to watch you and they'll appreciate your confidence that yes, this person was there. Else, like 10 people walking in a meeting room, there are 100 people in that one presentation, and you just go there, listen, and then disappear. You weren't even noticed. Your presence was not even being felt. But the moment you ask a question in this manner, oh gosh, you create an impact. You make your presence felt. So you might say, I don't fully understand what you mean. Could you please explain it from a different angle? I'm curious. I don't understand. And that's okay. At least I was listening. There are a lot of people who are not even listening. Yes or no? Think about it. There are a lot of people who might be there, but they are mentally absent. So could you explain to me how that is going to work? It can be a follow-up question. The person just finished one point on the slide and say, hey, this is interesting. Could you explain it to me how that is going to work? And he might say, all right, we will be covering in the next few slides. Or if you were asked this question, how you would have said, I appreciate your curiosity. I appreciate your interest. I appreciate that you asked this question. It's going to be very helpful for everyone. Or you may say, I'm glad that someone asked me this question. Do you see that? As a presenter, what do you say? I'm glad that someone asked me this question, or someone had this question. Else, I thought that you all had no questions. And this question, coming from the gentleman, certainly gives a new perspective to our discussion. So thank you so much for adding value. Appreciate, compliment people for showing that courage to raise their hand and ask a question. Are you getting me? It's a big mindset shift, folks, and you position yourself as a leader. Just to be clear, do you mean this? And then you repeat the explained point in the way you understand it. It's a great way. And this not only works in a meeting or a presentation, it also means, it also works in a one-on-one conversation. Imagine you meet someone, maybe your boss or your team members, and he's explaining to you an idea, right? It happens with us. Like our team will suggest that Divas, we should try this campaign, we should try this approach. And when we listen to them, we're like, okay, so just to be clear, do you mean that we should do blah, 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 blah? And they're like, yeah, you got it partially right. What we meant was, and then they clarify. So it's just coming to a consensus. Good communication skills, it's about how well you are understood. Do you get that? It's not just about how well you speak, it's about how well you are understood. And it's if you backtrack, how you will be understood when you speak in a way which is much more clear, much more engaging. Make sense? So just to be clear, do you mean this? Now what would you say? Go on, my dear friend. I'm waiting for you to drop in your comment exactly what would you say. Or maybe, for example, you can just copy the same template which you heard from my side and try to add a line relevant to your case. Even that can be a possibility. It's not mandatory for you to come up with an original line in this time. Take the pause, drop in your answer. Answering questions. How? Have a look. Any final thoughts before we close the meeting? Any final thoughts before we close the meeting? You can always ask this. And this can also be used in your virtual meetings as well. I didn't mention it earlier. You can always try to use it when you have your meetings over Zoom, over Google Meet, over Teams, whatever works. Or if you have further questions or want to discuss any of it in more detail, we can meet privately, or you can send me an email. Have email address on the final presentation slide if required. If you're addressing a new set of participants, then that can be a way. For example, you have an induction program, right? Whereas in HR, you're addressing the concerns of the new joinees. And you say that if you have further questions or want to discuss any of it in more detail, we can meet privately, or you can send me an email, and the email ID is, as you can see on the screen, the slide. Are we clear? I'd like to thank everyone for sharing their time today, and any feedback would be valuable. Do that. Be open to feedback. A lot of people are like, feedback? What if someone says something wrong? Remember, be a student. That I'm here to learn and improve. So I'd like to thank everyone for sharing their time today. Value it. You might not say, oh, that's a part of their job, they had to show up. No. I'd like to thank everyone for sharing the time today, and any feedback would be valuable. So do we think this is the correct way to proceed? If they ask you a question and say, so do we think this is the correct way to proceed? You say, do we think? If someone questions you and you gave a thought, and then you ask everyone, you bring everyone for a collaborative approach. You say, so do we think this is the correct way to proceed? Yes. And then everyone starts sharing their pointers. So it's a great way to engage all the participants. Are there any objections to what I just covered? A great way. Are there any objections to what I just covered? You can do this, maybe like slide by slide. If, for example, you covered one slide and covered like 4-5 like pointers. And before you go to the next segment, next section of your presentation, you might say, any questions? Or are we good to go? Are we on the same page? Are we clear? think, oh, I have learned this great technique. So every single time you say, thank you for your patience, thank you for waiting. No, just like once, it's fine, but not every single time. Negotiating during meeting. Want to know this? This is interesting. How do you negotiate during a meeting? I hear what you are saying. However, our senior manager is very clear on this one. Discussion is happening. Imagine a scenario. You say, I hear what you're saying. However, our management is very clear on this one. Or I understand that we can't do that, but can we discuss some other alternatives? You're open for a dialogue. I understand that we cannot proceed with this approach, but can we discuss on some other alternative? And that's where you build up. I agree with what you are saying. I completely agree with what you are saying. However, have you considered looking at this problem from this perspective? Yes. I agree with whatever you showcased us in the last 10 minutes on your slides. However, have you ever considered trying to solve this problem from this particular approach? Good approach. Or how about this as an alternative, and then you explain what your alternative is? Again, how about this as an alternative? What do you think? Works? Oh, great. Your chance. What would you say? Come on. Come on, come on, come on. We are in the last lab. We're about to wrap up this masterclass. When you have to leave a meeting early, what do you say? Speak out. What do you say? You say, excuse me, unfortunately, I have to leave early. I need to be at XYZ place, maybe because of a meeting, because of, I have one more meeting lined up. I have to take a leave. Thank you so much for having me. Bye-bye. Gently, politely, excuse me. Unfortunately, I have to leave early. I have a meeting. I have an urgent meeting to attend, an urgent call to attend. Just received an email from my manager or whosoever, or I've got to shoot off. I've got overlapping meetings. This one got extended by 20 minutes and I really love the discussion. However, I've got to shoot off. I've got overlapping meetings. Thank you so much. You guys can like carry on, or you all can like carry on. I'll refer the MOM, that is minutes of meeting. Oh, sorry, I'm going to have to leave now. Because, and give a reason. Why? Sorry, I'm going to have to leave now. Repeat after me, my dear friends. Sorry, I'm going to have to leave now. What will you say? Sorry, bye-bye. Sorry, bye-bye. Okay, bye-bye. No. Pause and think. Pause and think. Next one, planning a future meeting. When you have a plan for a future meeting, what would you say? I'd like to set up a meeting with you at your earliest convenience. When are you free? Well, I'd like to set up a meeting with you at your earliest convenience. When are you available? Let me know. We'll certainly figure out a solution to your challenge. We'll make it work. Or I'd love to continue this conversation at a second meeting. When are you next free? You see that? Meeting. I'd love to repeat after me. Come on, one more time. I know it's a long session, but it's a masterclass. You got all the wisdom in just one video. You don't have to search for anything else anywhere on the platform. One more time. I'd love to continue this conversation at a second meeting. When are you next free? Well, we haven't covered everything we needed to. So shall we set up another meeting? Ask. We haven't covered anything or everything we needed to. So shall we set up another meeting? Thursday, 4 p.m. works for you? Oh, great. Let's block it right away. Good. So right there itself, you close it because you understand that there's something that has to be discussed in detail. You thought that you will cover up in 15 minutes, but you could not because of the discussion. So you say, oh, we haven't covered everything in detail. Shall we set up another meeting to cover it up? All right. What would you say? Pause and comment. Pause and write. Do it, do it, do it, do it. 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next one. Discussion is dragging on. What do you do? When you sense that the discussion is going on and on and on and on, I'm afraid that's outside the scope of this meeting. I would love to have answered this, I would have loved to answer this, but I'm afraid that's outside the scope of this meeting. Why don't we return to the main agenda of today's meeting? I mean, your point sounds genuine. However, why don't we return to the main agenda of today's meeting? We can take it up in the next call. Works? All right. Or we've got slightly off topic. Let us get back to the main agenda. I hope you will agree with that. We've got slightly off topic. It's a great discussion to have, but not considering the agenda that we have for this meeting. Yeah. At times you will see that there are some people who will just get in a debate or discussion. Hey, I said this. Hey, I said this. No. That debate between two folks in that meeting will hijack your presentation, your meeting as a presenter, as someone who's leading the meeting. So don't do that. And think about what would you say. Pause and write. Pause and write, pause and write, pause and write. In case you feel that things are going crazy, you can lead and ask. This is interesting, okay? This shows your traits of being a leader. You can lead and ask that, are there any more comments? Let's take them once and for all and then wrap it up. Or what do you think about this proposal? Yeah. Or what do you think about this proposal? Don't assume that they would have understood, or if they haven't given you clarity, ask them that, what do you think about this proposal? Or are there any areas of this project we're not thinking about? This could be towards the end, that once the discussion is done, everyone's on the same page and you're like, okay, are there any areas of this project we're not thinking about? Even this can be a possibility, because you know that this is a critical project. You cannot afford any gaps. So you're like, are there any areas of this project we're not thinking about? We can take this up right away. What would you say? Think about it. What would you say? I hope you got the learnings. I know there was a lot to absorb, a lot to learn. And believe me, before you go for your next presentation, if you apply these learnings, oh gosh, you will create an impact. A lot of people in the corporate world are super skilled, super hardworking. Still, they don't show up. They don't speak up. Is that you? Ask yourself, how many opportunities have you lost because you are not visible in that meeting? You're not visible in that presentation. You're not visible in your team. You're just there working and then disappearing. I want you to take this up. Commit to yourself that yes, Divas, from now onwards, I would prepare in this manner. I've given you all those scenarios where you can come up with ready-made sentences. You don't even have to think that, what will I say? On this note, I wish you all the best, and I'll be coming up with my next masterclass on YouTube, covering up one more topic for working professionals just like you. And on this note, say bye-bye. Until then, stay awesome and stay productive.